Good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. And let me get this set up here real quick.
If I'm walking across the room and you want to help me,
Michael J. Fox. I feel for Michael J. Fox. I really do. Such a kind individual. He actually had a home in the city that I lived in when I was young. He had bought a house there to have a farm in spite of the fact that he was a vegetarian, which is odd. M. Hunt says, I realized this morning I didn't have a single drink in the entire month of May. That would be a baby step in a lifetime without poison ruining my life. M. Hunt, congratulations, my brother. That is as good news as you could possibly imagine, an entire month without that rotten chemical in your body. And boy, you've got to be feeling good about yourself. I really hope you are. You deserve it. Very proud of you. Well, peeps, I have 21 days from today. I leave the state of Nevada and head to Arizona. Won't change much because the time zones are the same in Arizona and in Nevada, so that won't do a whole lot of change for anything that I do here. The move will obviously be an adventure, but we'll get through it. And good to see you, Guy. Right? Great job. M. Hunt is right. Let's put that up there. So, I wanted to start off this morning. Well, you know what? Yeah, I wanted to start off this morning with a story. When I was awaiting my trip to federal prison the second time, I was in a county jail here in Nevada waiting to go, and I had a stroke, and it was a much more severe than the ones that I had previously, and this is all caused by the stuff going on in my brain. The stroke put me in a wheelchair for a little over 8 months before I was able to get out of the wheelchair. And I remember the doctor telling me that I might walk again someday, but it would probably be with a walker. It was not going to be a situation where I would be able to walk like a normal person. Good morning, Kathy, or should I say aloha? Glad that you're here. So I was put into a cell that could accommodate having somebody in there with a wheelchair. And that... It was a slightly larger cell, and it had beds that the wheelchair could go under, and so that you could move around a little bit. So cells are not very big under the best of circumstances, and to be in one with a wheelchair makes it a little tougher if you're unable to walk. And if I had tried to get up out of that wheelchair that first day and hold the walls and try to start walking one foot after another, it wouldn't have happened. It would have been a complete impossibility. The process started with me trying to straighten my right leg out completely so that I could lift my ankle up until it was almost perpendicular with the chair. And when I first started trying to do that, it was, if I could move it at all, if I could get the thing to go up, it was a triumph. And over the course of 8 months that I was in that wheelchair, I got to a point where I was able to put my leg out there, and do it in sets. I would do 5 or 10 sets of 5, and then it got to 5 or 10 sets of 6, and then it continued to do that until I was transported from there to the federal holding facility in Pahrump. And when I got off the bus, because obviously they don't put you in the bus on a wheelchair, they came out and said, we have a wheelchair for you. And I said, they want me on a walker. And I was given one of those 2-hand numbers that you see with some of the older people start to work with. And I spent about 4 weeks at the prison transport center in Pahrump, Nevada. And in that 4-week period of time, all I used was the walker. And they would say things like, well, we're going to get a cart down here so that we can give you a ride down to Pill Line, because it was the just half-mile long hallways with prison units off of each one, and I would walk to pill line, and they would have to let me out, about 10 minutes before everybody else, so that I could be the first in the line, and then have the extra 10 minutes to get back. All of these little things were incremental. They were all baby steps of sorts. And had I not taken that route, if they had said, all right, you got to get up and you got to walk, the frustration of my inability probably would have been enough to keep me from ever even attempting it. It would have been so frustrating that there's just no way I would have been able to face my future. After I left Pahrump, I went to Victorville, California. And when I got to Victorville, it was the same kind of situation. They're not letting you get on a bus with a walker. They might let you get to the bus and then get inside, and then the walker stays at the facility you're at. And as I got to the next spot, they said, well, we've got a walker in there for you. And I said, I think I'm supposed to go to a cane. And I would drag my right foot. I couldn't get the toe up to get it underneath me. And I would go out with that cane, and I would walk the yard, and 4 complete laps was a mile. And when I first started, I could get 1, and that would be over the course of about 2.5 hours of rec time. I could get a quarter of a mile, and I would just continue it and continue it and continue it. And I fell down and had all kinds of trouble along the way until one day I distinctly remember walking around the corner just slightly after the quarter mile mark, right before I got to right to where I got to where the rec building was. And my foot managed to get up and underneath me without my toe dragging. And it was one of those moments. And of course, you want to throw the cane down and start, and I couldn't. But when I got stabbed there, which would have been about almost 8 years ago, I'll be in 3 weeks, it'll be 8 years ago that I got stabbed. And when I got stabbed there, I was put into a cell after coming back from the hospital. I was put into a cell, and they took the cane. Said you can't have a cane in the cell because you can use it as a weapon. I was in solitary confinement. I don't know who the hell I was going to use the weapon on, but I was not allowed to have the cane. Fortunately, the walls were so narrow that I could put my hand on each wall. And I would walk back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And keeping my hands on the wall gave me an opportunity to really sort of work that and really kind of exercise my way through that. And when I got to the next yard, they said, we have a cane waiting for you. And I said, I won't be using that. My sobriety has been the exact same thing. It has been a series of really small steps to progress through this process. And there's a big difference between not using dope and being sober. They're not the same thing. You can stop using dope, and the first day that you stop, you're no longer on the chemical. And over the course of 14 days, your brain will start to get used to working again without having that poison in your body. It took a long time for me to get to the point where I was sober. And the way it worked was, you start out with being chemical free, and then you take baby steps. And in the course of those baby steps, you start to unwrap the onion that is your drug use, to find out exactly why it is that you were doing what you were doing. When I got to a point where I understood why I had been getting high, when there was enough of that onion peeled away for me to realistically been able to say, this is why I slid from chemical free to sober. And even today, there are days that are just really tough to get through. We're all going to have them. Medical problems come up, social problems come up. The world itself, it can be a daunting place these days. But if you've taken the baby steps along the way, then when really bad stuff pops out, it's easy to go back to that same thing. And these things apply to anything. It's not just drug use. Been clean and sober 52 years. 4 beers when my mom passed 40 years ago. Oh, and then and after spine fusion, a doctor fired me for stopping pain meds. Amazing, isn't it? Good for you, though, Kathy. Congratulations. 52 years, people. That is a lot of sobriety. I fear I will never get anywhere close to 52 years, but I'm proud of you. That's fantastic. Miss V says, how can a doctor fire you? It happens to me all the time. They say, I no longer want to treat this patient because the patient will not follow instructions. It's usually we only think of firing somebody we pay, but they can definitely say that I don't want to treat you anymore because you don't listen to doctor's instructions. That's a real thing, to be sure. So, if you one of the things that I do more than anything else is have conversations with people who are not 100% sure if they want to quit doing dope or alcohol. They think they have a problem and they want me to go like this. Yes, you have a problem. Yes, it is time that you quit. And obviously that is far above my pay grade. I don't tell people that they have a problem with drugs or alcohol. It's not what I think I'm even supposed to be doing, much less have any skill set for. But I don't think anybody can do that except the person who's using. I think you are the only person that can say, I have a problem. And it's important that it goes in that direction. But one of the things that I do when I talk to these individuals is I try to give them hope that they can get better. And I was talking to a person on the phone one day, and they had come to the realization that they had a drug problem. They couldn't bring themselves to say it, but they knew they had a drug problem. And when I said, I just want you to know that, you can be better. And the person said, I can be better what? What do you mean I can be better? I said, you can be a better version of yourself. The confusion on this individual, the concept, it's difficult for some people to wrap their brains around the fact that without the chemical in their life, they will be a better version of themselves. That trapped inside every person who is a drug addict, a practicing drug addict, is a better version of themselves waiting to get out. And there's no way to argue that, because the drug itself becomes a coping mechanism, or the booze or whatever it is you're taking. Alcohol is a drug, maybe the worst drug. But whatever you're taking becomes a coping mechanism. So anytime we have something that is foreign, something that we're ingesting so that we can cope with the day-to-day trials and tribulations of life, we are not the best version of ourselves. She said, I would not follow her treatment plan. We were getting tailbone injections every 6 months. Then I received information that she was going to burn tissue in the mail. Oh, you got in the mail information that she was going to burn tissue. Oh, frightening. So as much as it's a difficult concept, you have to make somebody believe that they can be a better version of themselves. And the reason that it is so difficult for most people to believe is the same phenomenon as me sitting in that wheelchair and saying, I'm going to get up and walk. That seems such a unbelievable mountain to climb that there's no way that we can wrap our head around that. And everything else that we go through in our life is going to be the same way. We need to learn to take all of the things that we want and break them down into steps that can be broken off. Very often when somebody quits a substance, we talk about just for today, one day at a time. All you got to do is get through today, right? You don't have to worry about not getting drunk tomorrow. You have to worry about not getting drunk today. And if you start thinking, good morning, Annette. If you start thinking about, well, I'm 40 and I'm going to be on this planet another 35 or 40 years. I got to go 35 or 40 years without having another drink. I got to go 45 years without ever getting high again. That is the same concept of, I got to get out of this chair and try to walk. I can't even move my damn foot. I can't get the foot off of the pad on the wheelchair. How in God's name am I going to walk? How in God's name am I supposed to go the rest of my life without using this substance that has been virtually propping me up like crutches for 3 decades. In the beginning of your sobriety, people, all you got to worry about is getting through that day. I just got to get through till the time it's, going to bed tonight without using. And there have been many times, as I've talked about, there have been many times in my life where it was, I just got to get through breakfast. If I can get through breakfast without doing this stuff, and in prison, we used to eat at 5 a.m. And I used to think to myself, man, if I can get through, just get me by 5 a.m., God. After breakfast, they were going to lock us down. There's a period of time where you can't leave the unit, you can't do anything. They lock you down for a count. And then everybody goes off to work. And at about 11 o'clock, they lock you down again. And the lockdowns are to count everybody, make sure that they know where everybody is. Because when people are going here and there, somebody slips out. So they have these censuses and counts that go on all day long. And I used to break my day down into that. I just got to make it to the noon census. If I can make it to the noon census count, I can lay down and take a nap. I'll be exhausted by then because I had so many things during the day that I was doing that would wear you out. And I would think, man, if I can get to noon, I can take a nap. And for 2 hours, I won't even have to think about trying to stay sober. And this is how you're going to have to view sobriety. This is how you're going to have to view most problems that come along. One of the reasons journaling is such a huge benefit is because it takes our problems and puts them down into bite-sized morsels. It gives us an opportunity to write down these goals that seem unbelievably huge in their scope. As you start to write them down, you can break these things down into little units, and then you can set goals for how you're going to attain each and every one of those units. If you're trying to drop 150 pounds and you think to yourself, good God, that's an entire human being. How in hell am I going to drop 150 pounds? You have any idea what I have to do to do? Yeah, what you have to do is start losing about a half a pound every other day, right? If you could start living a life where each week you knock a couple of pounds off, and it just becomes a matter of making that a lifestyle. You look at Alan Valentine. Alan is forever, Mom, good to see you. Alan is forever sending me text messages that say, I hit a new low or a new high in his diet, but a new low in the number of his weight. And the last time we talked, he had hit a number and he said, I had no intention of ever getting to this weight. This is lower than I had as a goal. Well, I mean, the guy walks, unbelievable distances every single week. And that's one of those things that is going to help weight fall off of you. And he doesn't eat improperly anymore. Now he eats like a man that isn't trying to gain weight. He didn't go on a diet. He changed his life. And in doing so, those big goals that he lost an entire human being, people. He's almost lost the weight he lost and what he weighs are almost equal now. I'm working, which involves driving. So last text, but I'm here and I'm listening. Well, thank you, Buddha Davis. Please have a safe day at work and don't text while driving. Bad juju. No, you don't want to text while driving. It's the last thing in the world you want to do. So recently, because of how much more time I have been spending in the process of journaling, I haven't really been doing any shows lately that I start journaling now and I write down what I want to do for the next day's show. Or sometimes, to be honest, I get up in the morning and I write down what I'm going to do for the morning show, or however the case may be. It's not always as well planned out as the night before, but I need to, I've gotten to the point now where I write down, I try to do 5 bullet points for whatever I'm talking about. And it helps. I'll just be really honest. My brain's not where it used to be. I used to be able to sit in the chair and just sort of rattle off and do things from memory. I could write it down in the journal, or I could think about it and I could sort of organize it into 5 bullet points. And then I would just sort of do it kind of extemporaneous, and I wouldn't have to be looking down at notes and doing things like that. Those days are over. That's the reality of my brain. I've got, I've been pretty open about, mostly open about the things that are going on in my head. And I'm slipping in some areas. It's just a matter of having to change how I do the things that I do. So there's a lot, there's a lot more journaling that's going on. Good call. Annette says, journaling again, head is foggy. It's the best way for me to clear out that head fog. My brain can't even get my thoughts out lately. When I can't get my thoughts out, I forget about getting my thoughts out, and I put the pen to the paper and I just start to write. And sometimes the first sentence that I write is, I have no idea what I'm going to write. And usually it's like rolling a stone down a hill. If you just get it going, it's going to start picking up some momentum. Lion's mane helps the brain, and grand rising captain and crew. Good to see you, my brother. That is not Jennifer. I know better. Chris, good to see you. Hope your baby's doing well. I draw journal for the last 17 years, then through two pretty ugly medical times. I'm glad to not be crazy by now. Hey, we're all blessed to not be crazy now, I think. Okay. So, whoa. Let's see here. As far as taking baby steps go, I wrote down gradual transitions. And this is not just for sobriety, but this is for everything. Gradual transition. Recognize that the journey towards sobriety is a process, and that lasting change takes time. Start by taking small, manageable steps towards your goal, rather than trying to make drastic changes all at once. Breaking down the process into smaller, achievable milestones allow for a more sustainable and realistic approach. This was huge for me because of the method that Q brought to me of the 3 steps. I had to write down all of the things about myself that I hated and that made me really uncomfortable and really unhappy about being me. And then I had to write down what I wanted to be. And it was very much like trying to get out of that wheelchair. I had a list of 60 things about myself that I didn't like. And that meant 60 things that needed to be changed. So I had to start breaking down things into things that I could pull off. One of the things was I wanted to learn to control my tongue, because every other word out of my mouth was an F-bomb. Literally. Prison has a way of making that much worse. But even in the real world, the free world, I cursed all the time. And it was sad because I have a fairly decent vocabulary. And when you start putting the F-bomb in your vocabulary and you're using it 2 or 3 times in every sentence, what you're doing really is not exercising your brain to try to come up with a better way to communicate. To have absolutely no flair or any skill or anything in what you are saying is something that isn't challenging. And for somebody who communicates for a living, that's a horrible thing. But I had so many things on my plate that needed to be changed that I didn't worry about cursing until I got some of the other stuff under control. Because trying to concentrate on, 40 things, there was a joke, if you've ever played golf, there was a joke, and it was a book called The 470 Most Important Things to Remember at the Moment of Impact. And that's kind of how I viewed my journey into sobriety. There were so many things that I had to think about. Don't do this anymore. Don't do that anymore. Don't do this. You can't do that. You can't do this. So I started to prioritize. Stop lying to people. That was number 1. No more lies. No more lies. That was the first thing that I wrote down. And that was the first thing. And it was uncomfortable because I would get people from my family on the phone and they would ask questions. And I'd say, oh, you're going to get answers, if you ask those questions. But that was the first thing. And because I thought this is the most important basis for the rest of my life. This is the building block that everything else is going to be centered around, if that makes sense. So breaking them into small, more achievable goals was huge for me. Kevin, the top nuclear activist, his foul mouth doesn't help that cause. Foul mouths very rarely help any cause, to be really honest with you. At least not in the real world. I mean, if you live in a bubble, if you live in an echo chamber and everybody that listens to you curses, it doesn't much matter. But when you start getting out into the professional world, you start getting out of the real world, or you're trying to build something legitimate, you know what I mean? Like if I'm going to talk to a principal at a school or a superintendent in a school district about coming in to talk to kids about drugs, if I show up and go, hey, I'm Tommy Scoville, I was hoping to get into your effing school, maybe next effing Wednesday, and if you guys could effing have some, you're not getting in the door. You are very often judged by the things that you say. I hope all is well and everyone knows which doors of opportunity they will take. What a cool thing to say. The stupid question guy. That didn't sound all that stupid at all. I like that. I really like that comment. Which doors of opportunity they will take. That is I love it. I really do. Swiss Vape, good to see you, man. He's at work now, so I can't stay here long. How's it going? Well, it's going well, Vape, and it's always good to see you, brother. Much love. So number 2, establish a support system and surround yourself with a supportive network of friends, family, or support groups who understand your journey towards sobriety. Having people who can provide encouragement, accountability, and understanding make a significant difference in staying motivated and committed to your goals. This is, getting back to what I was just talking about with with living in an echo chamber. If you surround yourself with people who will call you on your BS, you're going to be better off than if you surround yourself with people who are going to tell you that every single thing that comes out of your mouth is a great idea. I used to do that. That was something that I used to do. And if you're helping people get sober, you could find 5 people that you've helped get sober who are very, very happy that you helped them and are basically going to be yes men or yes women to everything that you say. It's really a benefit to have people that will go, no, I don't think that's a great idea. It's not always fun, It's nice when everybody agrees with you. That's a pretty good time. There's not a whole lot of growth you're going to get out of it, but it's a good time. But if you don't have a support group, last night I talked about doing things on your own. But without a support group, you can make your decisions on your own. You can do all of these things. But if you don't have people that you can look up to, if you don't have people that you can lean on, if you don't have people you can call when you need help with a difficult decision, whatever, then you're going to be walking through these challenges on your own. And these are pretty monumental challenges. It's not something that you should ever try to be facing alone. That's my humble opinion. Number 3, seek professional help. This is something that I feel very strongly about. If you're struggling with addiction, depending on the chemical of choice in particular, then reaching out to healthcare professionals, therapists, addiction counselors, people who specialize in substance abuse because they can provide guidance, personalized treatment, and valuable resources to support your journey towards sobriety. And I realize that this may seem like it's almost, flies in the face of everything we talk about on the lifeboat, because I'm not a huge, my support group is YouTube. I get that. I absolutely get that. I'm mine too. Good morning, Blake. Good to see you. Blake Richardson. Are you an Aussie? Are you from Australia, Blake Richardson? If you're quitting any substance and you have the ability to talk to a doctor before you do it, that's the best case scenario. There are times when people don't have that, but the best case scenario, 100 out of 100 times, is to talk to a medical professional. Don't let them put out your sobriety plan. That's something you're going to have to do on your own. But when you talk to them and they say, how much are you consuming? And you say 3/5 of bourbon a day, they're going to go, whoa, you just can't quit cold turkey. Or what are you doing? I'm doing, 6 1 milligram Xanax bars a day. Well, then quitting cold turkey could kill you. You could seize up. It's always the best case scenario to talk to a doctor. And right now there's some cutting edge stuff going on in recovery. And there's medication out there that can be a real benefit. We all know that there's been treatment for a long time for things like Full of Hope. Good to see you this morning. For things like opiate addiction and stuff. But having medical assisted treatment is now huge with alcohol. There's some really, really cutting edge stuff. Naltrexone is doing amazing, amazing things with people who are trying to beat alcohol abuse disorder. So if you can, please, on that journey, talk to a medical professional before you start heading down the road. I am not an Aussie. I am a Canadian. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. In America, we tend to say, how are you doing? And both Canadians and Aussies tend to say, how are you going? Or how's it, it's a small thing, but I notice it a lot because I talk to a lot of people from outside the US. In fact, our crew, the percentage of our crew that's American has really changed over time. There's a lot of Americans on the lifeboat, but there's a ton of people from outside the US, which is really cool. I don't really either anymore, Annette, but there are some things out there that I'm a pretty big believer in that have done some really, really fantastic things with some people. It's not for everybody by any stretch. Nothing is for everybody. But for a lot of people, it's a real help. Okay, you ready? Practice self-care. Number 4, practice self-care and healthy coping mechanisms. Find healthy ways to cope with stress, triggers, and negative emotions that may arise during your sobriety journey. Engage in activities such as exercise, meditation, journaling, or hobbies that bring you joy and help you manage stress in a positive way. And we've talked about this. Getting your head off of just what you do, right? It's a daunting thing to think about. I'm never doing any substance again as long as I live. That's really a tall order. But to say, to be able to take your mind off of things like that are constantly in the back of your head, you're never going to make this. The automatic negative thoughts that tend to rip us apart when we first start trying to get sober. If you're spending 4 hours a day, building models inside of a glass bottle, or you're spending, 4 hours a day at any hobby that you care about, you're wrenching on a car, or you're doing anything, the time that you spend doing that is usually time you don't have to worry about automatic negative thoughts running wild on you, because your concentration is on something else. And when you have your brain engaged in something, especially something that brings you joy and something that requires concentration, you're just taking, if you look at a pie graph of how much time you have to concentrate on not being wasted, you're going to get about that much taken completely out of the pie graph just by doing something that you love anyway. So I really recommend doing all kinds of, spending all kinds of time trying to find something that is going to bring you joy. If I call plumbing a hobby, will that help? If you enjoy doing it, it will. If it's something that you enjoy doing, then you can call it a hobby, and then chances are it will help. But even if you're not a huge fan of it, while you're doing it, you're concentrating on nothing but that, then chances are you're not going to be thinking about getting wasted while you're doing that either. Work is another great one. I mean, if you can really put yourself into work, I would imagine that if the plumbing you're doing requires a lot of thought, or a lot of and there are, obviously, no matter what we do, there are certain jobs that are super easy, even within any field, and some that just tear you up because of how many things are wrong. 22 on the boat and 8 likes. Hit that like button, everybody. Thank you, Blake, my Canadian friend. North of the border. Words of wisdom. Please hit that like button, people. Please hit that like button. It does help the boat grow. And that's a good thing. We'd like to reach as many people as we can and still not damage the boat, right? Number 5, always one of my favorites, and almost always ends up in my number 5, is celebrate small victories. Acknowledge and celebrate your progress, no matter how small it may seem. Each step towards sobriety is significant, and recognizing and rewarding yourself for your achievement along the way can boost your confidence and motivation to continue on your path. Now, we talk about this a lot, and I say things like, hey, look, I don't care if you got 1 day of sobriety, right? That is a step, and that is a huge step, and it's worth celebrating. But it doesn't always have to come back to just days of sober. If you come on the boat and you say, you know what, you're right, Blake, no math. Thank you, 7th. I appreciate that. Kind of have to go back and see what Blake was saying. Oh, yeah, that is kind of math. It really is. And I was told there would be no math. And you know that. I was always told there would be no math. If you come on here and you say, you know what, I've been journaling for 6 days and I hate it, I can't stand it, but I'm doing it, that's a celebration. That is an achievement. You're acknowledging that there's something you're doing and you're turning it into a habit, in spite of the fact that it doesn't make you happy. That is a good thing, because eventually it is going to become a habit. Eventually it's going to become something that you lean on. But any of those small steps, you know what, I got through a huge argument today, I didn't lose my cool. Any of those small steps that are moving you toward your goals, that's huge. And every one of them ought to be. Blake, I'm impressed with your ability to do those numbers thingy. My new turntable
is my real hobby. Music, gear, and music. Awesome, John Doe. So you're an audiophile. I used to get audiophile or audio. I think it was audiophile. It was one of the magazines that I used to get when I was in prison. I signed up for this thing where you could get like 20 magazines, which sounds so awesome. Then when you got to pick 20 magazines, you're like, damn, I don't have 20 things that I care that much about. But I picked audiophile just because it was fascinating to read about the equipment. Some of that stuff for turntables is so expensive. It's mind-bending, like how much people pay for needles and things. No. No, Blake, we're kidding. On the boat, there's a long-standing joke that anytime numbers of any way come up, I say I was told there would be no math. It comes back to the fact that I struggle really viciously with numbers. So it's actually a reference to a Saturday Night Live skit from about 1979. It was a debate, and Chevy Chase was playing Gerald Ford, and the person comes out and asks this question. And he talks about how, with inflation going up by 6.6%, and he starts spitting out all of these numbers. And when he gets to the end, Chevy Chase leans into the microphone and says, "I was told there would be no math." Just something that we picked up along the way, and my brother and I have been cracking jokes about for a really long time. But you've done nothing wrong, Blake, and you're never leaving the lifeboat, so knock that off. You are right where you are supposed to be, and nobody here ever gets bent out of shape enough to do anything to make anybody want to leave the boat. We're family, bud. We are family. That was just him clowning on something that I clown on all the time. But no, you didn't do anything wrong. In fact, it was great, and you should be. See, sorry, Blake, I was joking. Tommy always says there would be no math. You get it? Yeah. Good, Blake. And I appreciate what you say. Truthfully, it would really be great if you all hit the like button. Honestly, it doesn't take a tremendous amount of effort, but it does do a tremendous amount of good. So if you haven't hit the like button, please go ahead and do so. And if you've never hit subscribe, if you're one of those cats who come to the boat and watch the shows but don't subscribe, and believe it or not, that's like 30% of you or something. The last time I looked at analytics, about 3 out of every 10 people that watch my show will not hit the subscribe button for whatever reason. But it really does help. Tommy, I like the Arizona background, which part I have 2,400 of women with my maiden name, a bunch in Arizona. I'll be damned. Well, I'm moving there in 3 weeks. I bought a home down there. So that is going to be the future backdrop. That's Tucson behind me, and that's one of the reasons that it's up there. So wrapping up, remember, taking baby steps allows for a more sustainable and long-lasting transformation. Be patient with yourself, embrace the support available to you, and celebrate each milestone as you move forward on your journey towards becoming a sober person. It's huge. It really is, people. I'm moving to Tucson, the foothills, but just, a little outside Tucson. Thank you, Will. I appreciate that. And anybody, man, please, Will says I'm subscribed. If you're not, do it. It doesn't cost you anything, and it does help the boat. It really does. Will you adopt me if I end up homeless, if he dies? You tell you what, reach out to me. You know my email. You might be able to work something out. It is good to have you, Will. Glad that you're here. Really glad that you're here. So, pardon me. This brings us to the end of my formal presentation. It is nice. I love Tucson. I spent some time there. Sadly, I was behind I spent a year in Phoenix and a year in prison, but I was at the Federal Correction Institution, the FCI in Phoenix and the FCI in Tucson. In fact, I met Joe Casey, who's the former head of the Colombo crime family. He was literally the godfather of the Colombo crime family. And why did I think Tommy was going to Phoenix? I don't know. Maybe you don't pay attention to Tommy. No, I'm just kidding. It's really, really hot in Phoenix. It may seem like it's close together and it wouldn't be that much of a difference. There's a huge difference in temperature between Tucson and Phoenix. Phoenix is hot all year round, and in the absolute dead of summer, I remember being there in July at the prison, and it reached like 126. We were doing P90X. We had an instructor that would do P90X classes. Did it 7 days a week. It was a pretty brutal. It's like 130 people started the class and 6 ended up finishing, which was awesome because they bought all of this stuff for anybody that finished the program, like protein powders and workout gloves and all these cool things. And there was nobody to give it to because everybody kept quitting. So those of us that finished just got a ton of stuff, but we would be doing it outside, and they had a tent, so you weren't directly in the sun. So you were under this sort of like a canopy thing, which had a television, and so we were doing it directly to the video, P90X. But it was, it was in the 120s, sometimes as high as like 127, 128, and it was just brutal. I was in Laughlin, Nevada once, and it was 124. Yeah, that's hot as hell, Ultra Maggot. That is hot as hell. Shortage of coffee is in the news here in the UK. I'll tell you what, I would struggle really badly with a shortage of coffee. I just bought a bunch yesterday, and basically for that reason, I'm stocking up on coffee. You know what I mean? You got to have your priorities in order. Forget extra water and food, but I need more coffee. If I go to Arizona, I will have a lot of people to try and visit. Well, you'll have one more in 3 weeks, V. Yes, I have. I've just bought a lot of it. I hoard coffee too, John Doe. I wasn't even out of full of hope. I wasn't out of coffee when I bought more. Blake Richardson says, shortage of coffee. That sounds pretty rough. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. It's the fuel that fuels my mornings, to be sure. Tarmac, not Carmack. You know what, V? I dated a girl that used to say that. Like I would make coffee and she would say, "Oh, I love the smell of that, but I can't stand it." My gray kitty would follow me outside if he actually wanted to go outside. I used to have 4 gray cats. Big fan of gray cats. Meat too. Yep, I've heard that the shortage of meat is definitely coming. Annette says coffee is my drug of choice. I drink more of it than I probably should, but I love it. I just really, really love it. I'm a huge fan. So before we end, this is something that, you know what, this may never get back to the people that need to hear it or anything else, but you know what? Let's see. Seventh and V and Charlie and a handful of other people will get this. There is a gentleman out there that wishes that I would overdose and die. And he's fond as hell of saying that as often as possible. He's not a big fan of me, and he's not a big fan of my brother. And he had a YouTube channel at one time. Apparently it got taken down, or he took it down or something. I stopped looking at this guy or listening to this guy on December 4th. Not last December, but the one before. I don't know. Just this guy's not registering on in my life, primarily because he's just the most hateful human being in the world. But it's neither here nor there with this story. I got an email last night from somebody that said, and I don't know how they know this, because again, I don't think the guy's got a YouTube channel, but it's one of those people that I guess were at one time followed both of our channels. So maybe the two of them are still friends or something. I don't know what the deal is with that, but I got an email from him that said, so-and-so, whose name shall remain anonymous, because I don't normally say the name of people on the channel unless they're from the channel. And if they're, with all due respect, a troll, and I'm certainly not going to say the name, but this guy had a heart attack. And I don't know how old he is, but I was under the assumption that he's in his 30s or early 40s. He's a very young guy. And compared to me anyway, everybody's getting young, but he had a heart attack. And I don't know if this is fake news or not. The person that told me I've got a decent amount of faith in, and I shot them an email and said, you're sure of this? And they said, I am absolutely sure of this, but they didn't tell me how they were sure of this. And but in spite of the fact that this guy just absolutely hates me, my understanding is that did he get? I don't know, John. Though it's a good point. I don't know if he did, but he has a kid, and so he had he had a heart attack, according to this individual, and is in the process of recovery or whatever. And I know that this dude used to watch this channel all the time, in spite of the fact that he just hates me and hopes I die. And apparently, he spends a lot of time watching the channel. And if by some chance the guy is, you're absolutely correct. You never really have a heart attack. You actually attack the heart. You're right on that. But pretty funny, V. You know who I'm talking about too. He was a member of the lifeboat at one time, and actually had a real hand in naming the lifeboat. But in case he stumbles across this, man, I don't hope that on anybody. I don't take any joy whatsoever in hearing this guy had a heart attack. If I had one, he'd be the happiest guy in the world. I'm not that cat, and I hope that he heals and that he's able to resume a normal life. He's got a kid, and I don't wish that on my worst enemy. According to him, he's my worst enemy. According to me, I don't have any enemies anymore, man. For real, you can hate me. I ain't got time to hate anybody. I really don't. I just don't have time for it. I got a lot going on, but I don't. Yeah, V knows who. But I don't want anything bad to happen to this cat. So he real hateful when it comes to a higher power. Likes to crap on people who pray. But you know what? I'm praying for the cat, and I hope that that something good happens to him, and that I hope that he heals up and that he's there for for his kid and everything else, and that his life gets better, because that's a rough road. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it came from the jab or what causes a heart attack at that young an age. Lord knows if it had happened to me, they'd be screaming I was banging cocaine with with a bike pump or something. But I have no idea what would cause a heart attack that young. But I hope that he recovers soon, and that he's able to get back to hating everybody in a much healthier while being much healthier. Honestly, I hope he gets back to being able to eat peppers and being happy. I don't take any joy in hearing that. And the person that sent me the email is pretty effed up, honestly, because the person that sent me the email sent it as in with a, hey, isn't this great kind of thing. And I don't think that's great. So, it is what it is, but he is angry, John Doe. He's a very angry person, but I hope that he heals up and that everything gets better for him. That's from the bottom of my heart. I know that there are people that probably won't understand why I said that, but that's how I feel. And with that, the cat is in the garage, but I am going to go. And believe it or not, people, I am not going to go watch the sun come up. I have got a hell of a day in front of me. Today is going to be, I'm going to get about 48 hours worth of stuff done in 24 hours. I'm not looking forward to today at all. At all. It works if you work it, and you are worth it. And that's a t-shirt waiting to happen, hon. I love that. Rick Smith, he says, good morning, family. Getting a late start this AM. Have a great day. We'll catch the replay. Thanks, Captain. Glad you're here. Glad you're here too. I was there, Shirley Temple, and then Cowgirl, the whole. I missed that one. It went by. All right, people. Prayers for the Tommy Scoville Heat Club 1. I am going to be going and getting a little bit more sleep before I attack this day. I slept a lot last night. I did. I'm right now sleeping more than I've ever slept, people. I'm really trying to make sure that I get 8 hours every single day. And I got 8 hours last night. I really did. But I don't feel right. We love you too, Full of Hope. We love you too. I just don't feel right. So I'm going to try to get a little bit more sleep before I attack this day. Miss V says, me too, Tommy. Good. Get some more sleep. There's nothing wrong with that. All right? People, baby steps. And congratulations once again to Mr. M. Hunt. There was a day that I never thought I would hear that guy say, I've had a solid month of no booze. Hate, not heat. There you go. Sorry. I'm not the brightest bulb. Let me see. Did I read that wrong? I did. prayers for the Tommy Scoville Hate Club. There you go. There you go. I know today. Yeah, it was you this time, not me. Okay, because I'm usually the one that screws that up. You're right. You know what? Prayers for. I don't know why I didn't put that up there. You don't need to know the gentleman's name, right? All you need to know is we're saying some prayers for a gentleman that had a heart attack. All right, people, I love you. I really do. You take care of that new baby. And I will see all of you on the deck of the lifeboat. Make it a fantastic day. And as Annette just said, peace out. I am going back to sleep. If I had made arrangements to talk to any of you this morning, I promise you I'm going to reach out and talk to you, but I'm not going to do it until I get some more sleep. I want to feel like I did when I got up yesterday morning, every morning. I want to feel like I'm rested and that I can attack the day. All right? God bless. See you on the other side.